So glad to have you join us. We'll begin with the dramatic turn of events in the People's Democratic Party, Nigeria's second major opposition. After a federal high court in Ibadan on Friday nullified the party's national convention held on November 15, 2025 in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. The court also barred Kabiru Turaki and others from presenting themselves as national officers of the party, dealing a significant blow to the faction that emerged from the convention. Meanwhile, the Turaki-led PDP has reacted to the Federal High Court's verdict nullifying its November 2025 National Convention, saying there's no cause for alarm and insisting its leadership remains legally intact. In a statement shortly after the ruling, the party's National Publicity Secretary, Ini Ememobong, said the PDP had instructed its lawyers to immediately file an appeal and pursue all necessary legal actions. Well, for more on the latest legal battle for the soul of the PDP, we have joining us now Honorable Haruna Jungudo, who is the National Publicity Secretary for the Mohammed Abdurrahman-led National Caretaker Committee, which is the beneficiary of that judgment. So good to have you join us right here.
It's my pleasure having you.
Yeah, so there's an appeal right now on this judgment by the Turaki-led NWC, but there are lots of accusations that it looks like the judge went on what some of these PDP leaders on this other side called judicial adventurism. One of them is that there was nowhere where they had in the prayers that the Abdurrahman-led caretaker committee, as you call it, should be, declared as the rightful National Working Committee or not, but that the judge then went ahead. Having listened to it and then having heard about their decision to appeal, what will you say?
Well, thank you for having me. First, I, on behalf of the National Caretaker Committee, wish to thank PDP members for believing in us and for throwing their support and for remaining loyal as faithful party members. For the Kabiru Tanimu group, I want to say that, yes, it is a constitutional right for them as a group and as individuals to appeal the decision of the Federal High Court. As to whether there are technicalities or not, judgment of a court, no matter how bad you feel it is meant to be obeyed. And it remains valid, binding, and subsisting. So whether it was part of the relief sought, not sought, what is mandatory upon them at this material point in time is to respect the decision of the court and to allow the PDP to flourish, to allow the PDP to breathe. The party has been suffocated by people who I term as violators of extant rules and people who flagrantly acted in disobedience to valid court judgment. So it is their own right to appeal the judgment, but left for me and other well-meaning PDP members, they should know that at this material point in time, it is over for them. There were about 4 judgments from the Federal High Court that went against them. First was the Justice Omotosho. Second, we had the Justice Lifu. Third one was striking out of INEC as a defendant in the suit they filed at Oyo State High Court. Of course, we all know that that court does not have the jurisdiction to entertain that suit.
Well, they also claim that this particular Federal High Court does not have jurisdiction to go ahead with this suit because there's an appeal. And normal legal jurisprudence will mean that once there's an appeal at the Court of Appeal, all lower courts will stay away from handling same matter. Shouldn't the Federal High Court, just like the State High Court in Oyo State, stayed away from this issue, have also stayed away from this since there's an appeal on this matter?
This sounds ridiculous. In the first place, who filed that suit before that court?
That's the Court of Appeal.
No. The Federal High Court that they are claiming do not have jurisdiction to entertain the matter, as you just said.
Yeah.
They instituted, they filed the case on
seeking
their
recognition
own. Seeking recognition.
For Turaki-led National Working Committee.
In the first place, why do you have to rush to a court to seek for recognition when in the first place a court asked you not to go ahead with that convention? You felt you had gotten a valid court order that gave you the right, the impetus to go ahead with that convention. So having done that, and you are everywhere in the media, visiting places saying you were legally elected, to the extent of saying that you do not even need the presence of INEC to make your elections valid or to make your convention valid. Well, so why do you have to go to another court?
It's based on Section 82 of the Constitution, where they said the INEC, as long as they filed the 21 days notice, INEC must not necessarily be there. I mean, I don't know how you feel with that submission that they have.
That is a wrong interpretation of the provisions.
Oh, okay.
You know, they like turning everything upside down to suit their own interest. In the first place, INEC as an institution, in the case before Justice Omotosho, INEC clearly admitted in their own counter affidavits that they do not have, or they were not given 21 days notice in line with the provisions of the Electoral Act. And again, that Section 82 you are talking about, that particular section, I think 82.2 or 82, yeah, 82.2, said INEC may, with or without prior notice. What is that telling you? It's a simple English. That INEC, having given them the 21 days mandatory notice, INEC can choose to write to you, give you notice of their presence, of their coming. They can choose to give you that notice. They can also choose not to give you that notice. But it is a regulatory requirement. It is a mandatory requirement that INEC, as the regulatory body, must monitor, must supervise, must take reports, and without their presence, whatever you do, that is a democratic process of a political party. If you do it without the presence of INEC, without the monitoring of INEC, is as good as a nullity.
Now, back to this issue that we have right now, and with what has been happening generally, some PDP members are asking, at what national convention Mohammed Abdulrahman was elected to become the chairman of the National Working Committee, either of the caretaker committee or the substantive NWC, as you put it.
Yes.
So they claim that Mohammed Abdulrahman is not known to them as that, and that he was only the national vice chairman for North Central, and his tenure has since expired, so they don't know him.
You see, you can take a horse to the river, but you cannot force that horse to drink the water. Yeah. And there was an announcement calling on NEC members to attend the 104 NEC meeting of the party. If you choose to be there, fine and good. If you refuse to go there, that is within your own right. But the party and members of the NEC and BOT held the 104th NEC meeting and appointed a caretaker committee. Abdurrahman Mohammed was not elected. It was in line with the powers of NEC that a caretaker committee be constituted in the overall and best interest of the party. As at then, the tenure of Damagun, Anyanwu, and the rest had less than 48 hours to expire. What do you do in the interim? They think everyone thinks like them? No. We have people who are visionary. We have people who have wisdom in their thinking. They now thought it was wise that you don't leave a vacuum.
Yeah.
If you create a vacuum, it means the party was likely to go into extinction. So the best thing to do and the most rightful thing to do was to constitute a caretaker committee. And that constitution of that caretaker committee was in line with the recommendation of a reconciliation committee put in place by the BOT, then chaired by Adolphus Wabara, in the presence of all the governors of the PDP then and the Damagun-led NWC. So Abdurrahman-led caretaker committee emerged from that consensus, that thinking that we need to do something to save the party. Because if the tenure expires, where will you draw the legitimacy to do whatever you wanted to do? So I must commend the leadership, division of our leaders, our party leaders, who thought it was wise to constitute that caretaker committee. So as it is now...
Was it the NEC, the rightful NEC? And
which one is rightful, which one is not rightful?
That caretaker committee you're talking
Which one
about?
is rightful, which one is not rightful? The national secretary of the party has the constitutional duty to circulate notices of NEC.
Yeah, but who gives them the mandate to call for a meeting?
I wasn't a member of the NWC. All I know is that there was notice of NEC meeting and members of NEC and BOT assembled and took decision.
Well, Umar Damagun said that he never authorized Samuel Anyanwu to call that particular one you're talking about.
As at that time, he was expelled. He was expelled by the party. Yes, you remember. I think he was expelled by the party. Right, and for someone, let me remind you, for someone who had willingly give out and waived his right and handed over his powers to a non-existing, non-recognized body, what moral and legal ground does he have again to come back and say, having relinquished his power?
Okay, now let's talk about how there are claims actually that both parties are using the courts to the detriment of your party members. That's Nyesom Wike is using the federal high courts or the federal courts to actually, push his agenda, while the Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, is using, the courts in Oyo State to actually push across the agenda of the Turaki-led National Working Committee. In all of this, shouldn't all factions of the PDP have some sense of decorum and respect for the Nigerian, for the average Nigerian who votes for them and who is a member of their party to resolve all of these issues?
Now, before we go into the second aspect of your question, let us first look at the allegations that certain leaders or certain persons are using the court to the detriment of the party. First, if you look at the two cases where the Seyi Makinde group, Tani Mutraki, lost, yes, they instituted and filed the suit before Oyo State High Court. INEC, not Wiki, INEC challenged the jurisdiction of that court. Clearly you will know, and everybody knows, even me as a layman, knows that you cannot take a federal government agency, INEC in this case, before a state high court. But because the state high court was under, quote and unquote, the jurisdiction of the state governor of Oyo State, they went for forum shopping and secured a judgment or an ex parte order, which we all know, as at that time, that will not hold water.
Well, they claim that both courts have coordinate jurisdiction.
I am coming.
Both federal and state
yes,
courts.
They are courts. They are courts of coordinate jurisdiction. Yes. Fine and good. But first thing you do in any issue or any legal matter that you intend to file before any court, you have to first look at jurisdictional matters, jurisdictional issue. Do this court have jurisdiction? That is what they failed to look at. They went before the state high court, which do not have jurisdiction. So was it Wike that challenged the jurisdiction of Oyo State High Court? No, it was INEC that challenged the jurisdiction, and they lost. Meanwhile, They were the ones who filed that case before Oyo State High Court. Secondly, the case they filed, or the case that they lost yesterday that was dismissed, who went to file that case? Tenimu Taraki Group went to file that case. Now, let me come back to the other side of the case where we won. Justice Lifu and Justice Omotosho. Kabiru Turaki Group wrote a petition against or drawing the attention of the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, praying that they are not comfortable that going forward any PDP matter be assigned to 3 justices of the Federal High Court.
Yes, of course.
Justice Lifu Abdul Malik and Omotosho. If that is the case, if you feel you don't trust these judges, I believe they must have trusted the judge in Oyo who delivered the judgment yesterday. That was why they went as far as Oyo to file that case. They equally believed in the impartiality of the State High Court judge in Oyo. That was why they rushed for forum shopping to get an ex parte order, which they relied upon to carry out that Amala Convention. So now, now, with all due respect,
you wouldn't be using that. Because we're your national TV.
I take that.
You wouldn't be using that.
The illegal convention.
Well, if you claim it's illegal,
it is illegal.
Because the matter is on appeal.
No. As it stands today, that judgment is binding on every member of the PDP.
Well, there's a motion for appeal.
Before
and then,
we discuss,
of course, there's also a motion for stay of execution.
Before we dwell into that. So
if there's a motion for stay of execution, that, and then if it's eventually granted or not granted, that's when we can then proceed with this assumption.
I will tell you as a friend to the lawyers.
Okay.
Now, back to the previous questions. If they had trusted 2 justices that they were comfortable with, and they lost their cases before those judges, can they be trusted on any propaganda, on any statement they make in alleging that certain people are manipulating the court? They had the right to approach any court of their choice. They did, and they failed. They are still complaining that somebody is making manipulation. See, facts are facts. Law is law. It is sacrosanct. You cannot change it. Yeah. They have always been on the wrong side of the law.
Well,
Alhaji Sule Lamido, clearly a fundamental rights issue. The court said, don't do it. They are not talking about that one. Now, coming to the issue that it is on appeal.
Yeah.
I have learned from those who are familiar with legal matters. There are certain reliefs. Once granted, you cannot stay them. They can only be vacated upon another superior court judgment setting aside.
Well, this is strange, actually.
It is not strange.
Some very strong.
It is not automatic. Let me tell you.
Once the motion for appeal,
it is not automatic. It is not automatic.
It's also decided independently.
See, it is not automatic that because you have filed a stay of proceedings or execution or appeal a decision of a court, it is not automatic that that particular judgment will be stayed. Okay. For instance, it subsists. And let me give you an example. Okay. The 2 judgments delivered by Justice Lifu and Omotosho were reliefs granted that you cannot stay them by mere filing of an appeal or stay of execution. And that was exactly what the INEC chairman lectured Kabiru Tenimu.
All right. Well, we are coasting home right now. You've made some very strong statements here, but they are actually claiming that some of the reliefs granted by that judge were not asked for in the prayers.
I want
you to take note of something that actually was being circulated yesterday by the PDP, where they clearly stated that Justice John Soho, the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, have visited FCT Minister Nyesom Wike asking for land for judges and all of that. And because of that, it seems that, you know, there's this body language within the federal court system, especially that of the Federal High Court, which they are uncomfortable with and which they will keep on, you know, kicking against. Although we know that if judgment also favor them, I mean, they may not bring that angle to the fore. But actually, they made a video available where Justice John Soho was actually asking the FCT Minister for judges. And that since then, we've seen, since 2023, Nyesom Wike saying he's building, you know, offices, houses for judges and all of that. He says, the spokesman of the PDP had said, your colleague, that in itself is making a whole lot of people within the public sphere doubt some of the judgments that are emanating from the Federal High Courts.
Now, the Chief Judge, assuming, I haven't seen the video, but let's take it without conceding that, yes, he has visited the FCT Minister. I do not think the FCT Chief Judge visited Wike in his personal capacity.
Yes.
He visited as the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court. And I am not sure he visited the FCT Minister in his capacity as Barrister Ezenwo Nyesom Wike. He visited him as the Minister and custodian of the Federal Capital Territory. Is there anything wrong if the judges are making efforts to get one or two things that will better the life of judges? No. If you go to our courtrooms today, you will know that these judges need recording systems to smoothen and reduce the burden on their work. Well, so I am coming. Yeah. Is anything wrong if one government official visits another? Is there anything wrong? In this instance,
they are saying that the judiciary is supposed to be, independent, and especially in this instance, when you have one of them,
so let me ask
government
you,
official being visited is an interested party.
Who is the custodian of
you
lands?
and I know that Turaki is a senior advocate of Nigeria.
Unfortunately.
You will say that he doesn't understand all these intricacies before raising such an observation.
Unfortunately, as a senior advocate, he has been misleading party faithfuls.
Interesting.
Nobody, a senior advocate, with due respect to the senior advocate, nobody will rush from a federal high court and move to another state high court seeking an order that will set aside a federal high court judgment, a final judgment for that matter. And nobody, a senior advocate for that matter, that will assume and think that an interim order can supersede or override a final judgment of the federal high court. So the FCT Minister is the custodian of lands in the Federal Capital Territory. And it is within the rights of the justices to demand for the better welfare of their colleagues. So there is nothing wrong in that.
When the FCT Minister has, cases in courts, don't you think that could tilt their, thinking or judgments or
not in any way. You file your cases, you bring your facts, you bring your affidavits, you bring everything that you need to do with witnesses and what have you. Okay. If you prove your case, you take it. You don't.
Okay, but do you believe that the Oyo State courts are being manipulated by your colleagues? Turaki
whether manipulated or not, it is not our issue. What we believed is, once you have your facts and you go before a court, you can prove your case and you get your judgments and you're home and dry. In this particular case, the Oyo State High Court, whether that judgment was procured or what, justice has been served at the end of the day.
But if you feel theirs was procured, shouldn't they also
I didn't say it was procured. I said assuming it was procured.
Well, what if they also assumed that yours was also procured too?
They are free to make assumptions, but in their submissions, they should be careful from making sweeping and blanket statements they are so sure because this and this met on official capacities.
All right, very quickly before I let you go, what next for PDP? That's what members are asking, because there are fears that PDP may not be on, INEC's, calendar ahead of 2027 polls. Most of your members are defecting to other political parties. Aren't you worried? When exactly is the Abdurrahman-led PDP going to work out something that will make members to actually feel happy that INEC recognizes it and then move ahead?
Well, at the moment, a lot of PDP members are already jubilating seeing that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Now with this judgment, it is incumbent on INEC to give recognition for the particular leadership that the court says recognize. And with this, the party can go ahead and begin to make preparations in earnest towards the 2027 general election. As it stands today, in the couple of days, we will hold our BOT and NEC meeting where we shall roll out programs and agendas towards making party members very, very happy. And for those of our colleagues who were contemplating or who have even left, it is time for them to come back. PDP is the only place, the only party where they can actualize their own dreams. It is only party that has the structure everywhere in Nigeria.
Okay, so what's the status of Nyesom Wike in your own PDP?
Nyesom Wike is our national leader.
Okay.
Is a stakeholder in the PDP, and he has done so much before, and he is still doing so much to make sure the party survives.
All right, very interesting perspective there. We must thank you. Haruna Jungudo is the National Publicity Secretary of the Mohammed Abdurrahman-led National Caretaker Committee. I mean, if you're referred to as a caretaker committee, then that means a convention should be on its way.
Oh, yes. I forgot to mention.
Oh, okay,
our mandate actually was for 60 days to prepare the convention. Yeah. So I believe now the NEC will extend to enable us conduct a legitimate, acceptable convention. All
right, we just hope that this party, which used to be a very great party and former governing party, is actually put in place, whether, I mean, it's Abdurrahman or it's Turaki.
No, it should be Abdurrahman. It's Abdurrahman, not Turaki.
It's for Nigerians to actually have a breath of fresh air by having political platforms that actually work on behalf of the people, not getting into infighting. Thank you so much for joining us.